Hello everyone, Mr. Settles here. We're going to take a little bit of time and look at how we can create a multi-view sketch. This is one of the most important sketching types for all technical careers. Multi-view sketches show objects, making sure that we see true shape of every surface and the true size of every edge and every surface in the object, which makes it really good for technicians who are going to have to produce parts for us, and for us to be able to know exactly how objects are sized and arranged and how every part of the object is made, and just helps us get everything exactly the way it needs to be when we're producing a new part of some kind here. So let's walk through the process of creating a multi-view sketch. First thing that you want to do is be sure and gather the materials that you're going to need, and these are really pretty simple. You need a pencil or a mechanical pencil. I like using this one right here. That's my standard sketching tool, and I also find it's really handy to have a white block eraser, so I don't have to keep going back and forth to the eraser on my writing utensil. So I like getting those. Some people sketch by using a straight edge or a ruler of some kind. I typically don't do that because I think it slows me down. And actually, when you're using a straight edge, you're not really doing a sketch, you're doing some kind of a drawing since you're using that type of tool. So we're just going to do it freehand and show you the process involved with that. So, a few things that we need to know as we are producing a multi-view sketch. Typically, these sketches have 3 views, and they are arranged this way in a drawing. The front view will always be in the lower left of your drawing area. That is the most important view. It shows the most about the shape of the object. Straight above that one and lined up with the front view will be your top view. That makes sense there to think top would be above the front, but they stay in alignment. And then from the front view, if you move straight out to the right, you have the right side view. So they're kind of arranged in almost like an L shape, and they will always be in this configuration. Now you can see on this particular drawing paper, I have divided it up with pencil line into 4 quadrants so that I could get an idea of where I wanted my views to be. And in this upper quadrant on the right, they've also provided us an isometric grid where we could come back and do an isometric sketch of our object if we desired that. Right now we're not going to be using that for this particular sketch. So keeping in mind the arrangement of the views, and that we're always going to keep them that way, let's take a look at one that has already been constructed. So this particular object is this one. This is the same object that you are asked to sketch in activity 1.2, A Picture's Worth 1,000 Words. And to me, it's kind of an L-shaped object that's got a tall tower in the back and then a low section there. We've modeled this out of 5 linking cubes, and I do it in a couple of colors so that you can tell the difference in the 2 sections there. When I think about this dark green part that I've got back here, I generally call the tower on this one because it goes so high. And then the low section is 2 linking cubes running horizontally there. So whenever I decide to look at this object, considering the shape in all directions when I look at it, you know, from several different directions, it looks very much like an L. And then when I look from above, I still kind of get that L arrangement, you know, in place there. So what I tend to do is choose the one that has some of the longest dimensions to be my front. I like this arrangement right here with the tower kind of on the back and the low section toward the front. So when I get ready to do my front view, I want to position this so I am looking straight in at the front of the object. When I look straight in at the front, I can see the front surface of this low section is a rectangle. The tower is also a rectangle, but I can't see any of the surface on the side or on the top here. They all lay behind the defining edge of the front shape. So I'm only going to produce the shapes that I see. So when I look at that, I can see that, I've got a tall section here for the tower, low section coming out this way. Once I've chosen the beginning spot for my view, then I can then begin constructing that. Now you can see here in this section, 1, 2, 3 squares on my grid, I decided that that would be the size of one of the edges of a linking cube. And that works pretty well for this object. It's one of the things you want to decide on before you start. And you got to consider if this is going to fit on your paper. So I went ahead and I constructed that one. Got that in shape. After that one, I'll set that aside for a second. What I did is I actually projected along the grid lines from the corners, going vertically from the front view, because I wanted to do my top view next. And if I project lines up from the front view, that's going to help me keep the sizes of the top view the way I want. Now, when I got ready to do the right side view, I did the same thing. I'm projecting along my grid lines from the corners of the front view. Now, since that right side view is much farther away on this particular sheet, it's very important I watch these grid lines and I keep everything lined up in good shape. Right? So, it gives you an idea of what's going on there. One of the other things I want to show you on this particular object, when you go around to this right side view, the edge of that tower continues and it runs all the way to the bottom, but we cannot see that when we're looking into the front view. So to show that edge going down, I'll tip this paper up where you can see a little better on the camera. If you can see right there, in the front view, I made a series of short dashes to represent that edge going down to the bottom of the block. And that's how we illustrate those. That is called a hidden line. That means there's an edge there, but it's hidden from me because there's solid material between where I am and where that edge is. So that's a feature that we want to be sure we understand and put in place. So my hidden line is right here, right? Well, let's see how we can actually begin constructing this one and the steps we go through. So if I set that aside, I'm going to choose a starting point about right here on my paper, and I am going to work on my front view, and I want to do this bottom section first. So if each one of the linking cubes is 3 blocks, what I do is I count 1, 2, 3, and I mark that for this first block. And from there, 1, 2, 3 for the second one. 1, 2, 3 going up for the height. 1, 2, 3. And now I can actually sketch in, stay on my grid lines, and produce the front of the low section. Now I want to do my tower. And that I can see 2 of those blocks visible. 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3 here. 3 wide. And then it comes back down to the bottom. So now I'm going to sketch in the boundaries of the tower. And then I'll go ahead with my hidden line right here. So I've got that in place. So if I tip that up, sometimes you can see this much better that way on the camera. So that's my front view. All right, so I generally go to the top view next. That helps me keep my drawing area clean and not smudge it up so much. So I'm going to just project up from my corners like we described earlier for my top view. And these projection lines should be very, very light. I'm probably doing them too dark right now so you can see them, but you want to keep those very, very light. Right? And if I look at this object from the top, then you can see that toward the front of the object, I'm going to have the top of the low section. And then behind that, I'll have the top of the tower. So it actually looks like 3 cubes at that point. So if I begin here, I'm going to come across 1, 2, 3 up right there. And that gives me the boundary of the low section. And then from here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 over. And now I'll have the top of the tower section in place. And that's pretty good. Now, since I got that line a little dark, I'm going to come in here and just kind of take my block eraser and clean that up. And then I'll, since I got those projection lines a little dark, I'm going to go in there and kind of clean those up a bit as well. And do that so that I don't get confused and think those are actually lines in my view. Alright, so a little touch up there. And the top view looks pretty good. Alright, so then let's move to the right side view. So if I move to the right side view, now let's project across from the front. Everything works from the front view. Front view is always most important. It needs to be constructed first, and then all the other views are constructed based on their relationship to the front view. Projection lines should be very light. And those are going across there, and that it's way too dark. But I did that way so you can see it. And now, I see I'm going to have one linking cube up here toward the front of the object. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I want to start that one here. And it's going to be as tall as what I projected over. It'll go back 1, 2, 3 blocks. And you got that one. And that's my right side view of that low section right there. And now my right side view of the tower will have equivalent of 3 blocks going up. And since I projected lines, I really don't have to count. It just goes all the way up to that projection line. Goes back 1, 2, 3 here. So I'll put that top boundary. Sketch that in. Brighten up the bottom. And now I have my right side view. Just kind of clean it up a little bit. And we have just created the multi-view sketch of that L-shaped block from activity 1.2. I hope that process works well for you. One caution I would say is be sure you stay on the lines on your grid. They will help you keep your corners at 90 degrees. They'll help you keep your sketch neat. And at this point, there's no reason for going off that grid for anything. So, hope this video helped you. Thanks a lot for watching. And as always, if you have questions, be sure and let me know during class.